Hi, my friends. Today I want to present you a new story. Enjoy watching it.
Every Saturday morning at precisely 9 o'clock, I opened my banking app and sent $950 to my parents. It became a ritual born not of love, but of duty and habit. While others started their weekends with coffee and laughter, I started mine with a transfer notification and a hollow ache in my chest. I told myself it was peace money, that maybe, just maybe, if I kept helping them, my parents would see me as more than a provider. But the truth was, they hadn't called me sweetheart in years. I was Rebecca the payer, the invisible daughter who bought her way into being tolerated. The phone rang that morning, my mother. "Did it go through?" she asked, skipping any greeting. "Yes, Mom," I replied, forcing calm. "Good. Your father's car needs servicing, and the electric bill's due Monday." I bit my lip. "You know, Mom, I was hoping maybe we could." "Not now, Rebecca. I'm busy," she interrupted, hanging up before I finished. I stared at my phone, the silence pressing against my ribs. Hannah, my 7-year-old, peeked in. "Mommy, why do you always send money to Grandma and Grandpa?" she asked. I smiled faintly. "Because sometimes love costs something, honey." Her eyes softened. "Then they must love us a lot." I couldn't answer. That night, as Hannah slept, I looked through old photos, birthdays, holidays, smiles that now felt like lies. I remembered how my father once said, "Family means loyalty," though it had come right after he asked me for my tax refund. The next morning, my sister Peyton called. "You're still sending them money?" she asked, disbelief in her tone. "Becky, you can't keep doing this. They don't care about us, they care about control." "I just want peace," I whispered. "Peace bought with pain isn't peace," she said softly before hanging up. I sat by the window, watching the rain trail down the glass, each drop heavy like the weight of my choices. Somewhere deep down, I knew Peyton was right. Something was coming, something that would shatter this fragile balance I'd built. And I could already feel it in my bones. The cost of love was about to rise far higher than $950 a week. Hannah's 8th birthday arrived with balloons, laughter, and the smell of vanilla cake. The house glowed with warmth, except for one dark corner of my heart that waited foolishly for a phone call that never came. By noon, I checked my phone for the 5th time. There were no calls or messages from my parents. I told myself they were running late, that maybe their old car broke down again. But deep down I knew. "Mommy," Hannah asked, holding 2 party hats. "Which ones are for Grandma and Grandpa?" I froze, my throat tightening. "Sweetheart," I whispered, forcing a smile, "they couldn't come today. They live far away." "Oh," she said quietly, placing the hats back on the table. "Maybe next year?" Her small voice cracked something inside me. When the guests left and silence settled, I sat on the couch, staring at the guests' gifts. I couldn't hold it in anymore. I dialed my father. He answered on the 2nd ring. "Dad, you missed Hannah's birthday," I began. "She kept asking about you." There was a pause, then his voice, cold and sharp. "Your child means nothing to us." It felt like time stopped. The words echoed, stabbing through every memory I'd ever tried to protect. "The what?" I stammered. "You heard me," he said. "You and your daughter are no longer of interest to us." I couldn't breathe. I hung up before my sobs escaped. Hannah ran to me, her little arms wrapping around my shaking shoulders. "Mommy, why are you crying?" I pressed my face into her hair, whispering, "Because love shouldn't hurt this much." That night, I stared at the phone, waiting for an apology that would never come. Somewhere deep inside, something hardened. A quiet promise that I would never let them make my daughter feel unloved again. And that promise would soon change everything. The morning after that call, I woke up to the sound of rain and the weight of a new truth. I had spent years buying love that never existed. My hands trembled as I opened my banking app, the same one that had drained both my wallet and my soul. The weekly transfer sat there, waiting for approval like a silent demand. For the first time in years, I pressed cancel. A pop-up appeared. "Are you sure you want to stop this recurring payment?" "Yes," I whispered, my voice cracking. "I'm sure." The silence that followed felt like freedom. By afternoon, my phone buzzed. A message from my mother. "Rebecca, please send $80. We're ordering food from the cafe. Your father wants steak." My fingers hovered over the screen before I simply typed back, "I can't." Seconds later, another message arrived. Don't be mean. Relatives should help each other. I stared at the words, the irony burning through me. Family helps, until it doesn't. That evening, Peyton called. They texted me too, she sighed, asking for rent money. I froze. Wait, you've been sending them money too? Every Friday for 3 years, she admitted bitterly. For a moment, neither of us spoke. We were both victims of the same manipulation. 2 daughters buying affection that was never for sale. I'm done, Peyton, I said quietly. No more, not $1. Then we're done together, she replied. After hanging up, I walked into Hannah's room. She was coloring, humming softly. When she looked up, her smile lit the space I thought I'd lost. Mommy, are you happy now? I knelt beside her. I'm getting there, sweetheart. That night, I deleted every payment reminder, every note tied to their bills. For the first time in years, I felt something powerful. Not anger, but peace laced with grief. I had cut the cord, but I had no idea how far my parents would go to make me regret it. 2 weeks passed in uneasy quiet, until the storm arrived. One evening, Peyton sent me a trembling message. Becky, go online, now. I opened my phone and froze. There they were, my parents, in a live video, sitting in their living room, crocodile tears streaming down their faces. My father's voice stripped with false pain. She blackmailed us, he said. Our daughter took our money and threatened to ruin us if we didn't pay. We raised a monster. Each word felt like a knife. The comments poured in. Strangers condemning me, calling me greedy, heartless. My hands shook so violently I nearly dropped the phone. Peyton's call came seconds later. We can't let them do this, she said. I have proof. At the upcoming family reunion in the presence of numerous relatives, my parents stood tall, feigning innocence while whispers swirled around them. My father's smirk met mine across the room. A challenge. I turned on the video recording on my phone. Peyton stepped forward, her phone in hand. Before you all judge, she said loudly, listen to this. She played the recording. My father's own voice, cold and unmistakable. Your child means nothing to us. This child does not exist to us. I kept filming on my phone. The room fell silent. My mother's face turned white. My father stammered, that's taken out of context. No, Peyton said firmly. It's who you are. A ripple of disgust moved through our relatives. Someone muttered, how could they? Another whispered, they used her for years. I posted the video online. Within days, the video went viral. Their neighbors turned their backs, the church revoked their membership, and even their landlord evicted them for moral misconduct. As I watched it all unfold, I felt no triumph, only a hollow ache. Justice had arrived, but it didn't heal the wounds. It simply exposed them to the world. When the noise faded, silence returned, not the heavy kind that haunted me, but the gentle kind that felt like healing. The world had seen my parents for who they were. I didn't gloat, I didn't explain. I simply stopped answering calls. One morning, Uncle Dylan came by with coffee and his usual calm wisdom. You won, kiddo, he said softly. I shook my head. No, Uncle. I just stopped losing. He smiled. Kindness without boundaries destroys you. Kindness with them, that's strength. Those words stayed with me. Hannah and I started fresh. Weekend picnics, bedtime stories without anxiety, laughter that didn't feel borrowed. Peyton joined us often, the 3 of us healing, not from what was lost, but from what was false. Weeks later, a letter arrived from my parents. No apology, only blame. I read the first line, then dropped it into the fireplace. The paper curled, blackened, and turned to ash. As the last spark faded, Hannah ran in and hugged me tight. Mommy, she whispered, I love you so much. Tears filled my eyes. I love you so much too, sunshine, I said, smiling through them. And as the smoke drifted upward, so did the last of my guilt, carrying away the price of love I'd once paid too dearly.
Friends, what do you think of this story? Write your opinion in the comments. Would you like more stories? Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell button so you don't miss any videos. See you tomorrow.